The NFL is filled with inspirational stories, and what happened this past week on the Chargers may be one of the best. Basil Chijioke Okoye, or CJ Okoye, is from Makurdi, Nigeria, which is the capital of Benue State in central Nigeria. CJ was a natural athlete and played basketball growing up, and he was a self-proclaimed bully in the paint, an aggressive rebounder, and used his size really well in basketball. And it was through basketball that he met Ejike Ugboaja, who suggested he play football. CJ Okoye didn't know anything about football, and he didn't even know it was an option in Nigeria, but with his athleticism at 6'6" and 340 pounds, he is the prototype for an NFL defensive lineman. This led to him watching movies and videos on YouTube about football, and he decided to give it a shot. And maybe while you're on YouTube watching football, leave a like on this video. CJ had never even heard of Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, who, by the way, has no relation to CJ Okoye, even though they have the same last name. Okoye is just a common last name in Nigeria. They're not related. His very first tryout, he did not know what he was doing, but he was a good listener and a good learner, and he made the cut to NFL Africa. And then at NFL Africa camp, he won the MVP award at only 20 years old on this past October. In an interview with ESPN at the NFL Africa camp, he said, "Every single day here is a tough time. You just have to survive. Nigeria is like a jungle. If you survive today, you've got to hope for tomorrow. For me, I know I have more to lose than other players at the combine because I can't even think about losing at all. I've tried not to think about it. Losing is not an option right now. It's been hard since we came back from Ghana. I've been working non-stop to improve." And just from that quote, you can see how passionate he is about succeeding in football. And he had only been playing football at this point in October for a few months. That's it. After winning the NFL Africa Camp MVP, he then qualified to go to the NFL International Combine in London and began training as an NFL player in January of this year. He never even had a stance or put pads on and a helmet on until just a couple months ago. That is how raw this guy is, and his hard work really paid off as he was later signed by the Chargers in May of this year, 2023, through the NFL International Program. He's been practicing with the Chargers ever since, and he made his debut in his first ever game time action on a football field against the Rams in the preseason this past week. And he said that he had been dreaming about that moment, and the crowd wasn't a big deal for him because he's had crowds before in Nigeria. This guy's a hot shot, man, but he is so new to football that he was saying he didn't even know most of the calls out there, and he didn't even know that you switch fields every quarter. Can you imagine the confusion that CJ had in the second quarter when they first switched fields? He was probably thinking, do we switch sidelines too? What's going on? Then, in the fourth quarter of that game, he managed to sack Stetson Bennett, the Rams rookie quarterback, who, fun fact, is 4 months older than Justin Herbert, but that's besides the point. And CJ said that he didn't even know that that counted as a sack. He thought it counted as a tackle for loss because the QB was on a run outside of the pocket. And it wasn't until Jared Clark, his teammate, came up to him and said, "Hey, you just got a sack." And then he, of course, did his dance to celebrate because his teammates in OTAs would always tell him, "Hey, man, you need a sack dance because when you get a sack, you're going to have to do a little dance to celebrate." I agree with that. I think every man should have a dance dedicated to their sack. So what he did was the dance that would always make his family back in Nigeria laugh when he was growing up, because he figured, well, if my family liked it, then so will my teammates. After the game, in the locker room, he got the game ball for his sack, and he was trying his hardest not to cry because it was such a dream come true for him. The very next morning, he called his family, and they kept rewatching the play and laughing at it, and I'm sure they loved the celebration as well. His goal right now is to just learn as much football as he possibly can. He doesn't care about making the 53 or being on the practice squad. He just wants to learn from Jay Rodgers and Brandon Staley, who are two great football minds, and CJ is definitely in good hands to learn football from these two guys. The most likely outcome for CJ in terms of a roster spot this season, I think, is him being on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to make the 53, and he's got 2 years to be on the Chargers practice squad at only the age of 21, and about a year of just knowing what football is and playing and participating in drills and games. He's so new to the sport. He's got 2 years of being on the Chargers practice squad before he actually counts as a member of the practice squad, because through the NFL International Program, he does not count as a roster spot towards that limit of players. The fact that CJ Okoye has come so far in such a short amount of time shows how much athleticism he has, and it also shows how hard of a worker he is and how passionate he is about succeeding in football. And yes, he had that 1 sack in his first preseason game. You could say, well, maybe it was a fluke, maybe it was just bad blocking, but no. Look at him in practice against Zion Johnson, the former first-round pick for the Chargers, a very good guard on our offensive line, and he is using a swipe move to get past him and get to the quarterback, the would-be quarterback in that drill. CJ Okoye is learning fast at only 21 years old, and about a year of just playing football. CJ Okoye is going to be a name to watch in the next couple seasons. And that is the story of CJ Okoye so far. I'm sure that he's only getting started, but if you haven't seen this video right here, go ahead and click that one. Thanks for watching.